I'll take mine.
You can leave that on. Hi, Emily.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Good, sorry I'm late.
No, you're fine. You're fine. We are going to get started. Sorry if you can see me. I'm trying, hi. I am trying to get the presentation up. So I don't know why that seems like a hard thing for me to figure out, how to get a presentation up. And then to find Zoom back. There we go. Okay, so share my screen. There we go.
I'm gonna grab my phone real quick. I don't know where it
Sure.
is.
So how's Emily today?
Good. Busy morning, but good.
Good. Busy's not always bad.
No, it's not. It's good.
All right, so trying to figure out where to put you guys. I'm gonna put you down here, and there we go. So this week, week 4 of the beta group, we are going to talk about types of off-camera flash and modifiers and when to use what. Oops. There, oh, there we go. So there are many different brands and styles of off-camera flash, from Speedlights to Strobe lights and studio lights, or strobes and studio lights is kind of an interchangeable name. There's constant lighting, for example, video lights or ice lights. And as I'm learning, there's also daylight balance lights, studio lights that can be installed in your light fixtures. There's just so many choices, and what type of light or lights you ultimately choose will depend on a lot of different factors, such as your brand preference. Just like if you're Nikon or Canon, you might have a brand of preference for your lighting, your type of camera, what type of photography you do, where you do that photography, and the style of image that you want to create. And as with everything, budget always comes into play. So speed lights versus strobe lights. What is the difference? Strobe lights can create more light, brighter, stronger light. They recycle faster, and they have a built-in modeling light, most of them do anyway, which can help you see exactly where your light is going to fall on your subject. Speed lights, on the other hand, are more portable, making them more versatile, and they can create almost all of the same effects that you can do with a strobe light. Both are daylight balanced, and both can be used interchangeably or with each other to get the same results. I've never done a Canva presentation. I've always done Keynote before, so it's getting a little going a little learning curve here. So I'm going to explain that further. Speed lights, the pros that as I see it of speed lights are that they are flash units that can be used on camera as well as off camera. They're quick to use and understand how to use them. They're convenient, they're battery powered or cordless, and most are relatively inexpensive. The cons of speed lights, in my opinion, is that speed lights do not have modeling lights. Some of them may say that they have a modeling light. If you've ever pressed what might be the modeling light on a flash and it'll buzz or kind of blink a little bit, they're considering that a modeling light because you're supposed to take that quick amount of time to see how the light is falling on your face. To me, a true modeling light is one that stays on constantly so that you can constantly see how the light is falling on your subject's face. Speed lights can take longer to recycle, especially at a higher power. They eat through batteries, and the color output of the light is not always consistent. Strobe or studio lighting. Pros, in my opinion, for that are they recycle much faster, so you can shoot over and over and over much more quickly. They especially recycling faster at a higher power setting. They have stronger light output. They have longer lasting rechargeable batteries. If you get a cordless or a battery operated unit. They have consistent light power output and color, and most have a modeling light to help you see where your light will fall on your subject. The cons, in my opinion, are that they are larger. Most of them are larger. They can only be used off camera. They are, in most cases, much more expensive. They can seem intimidating, although just a reminder that light is light. They are not as portable, and some do not have batteries or they have to be plugged in. So let me tell you what I use and when. Choosing between speedlights or strobe lights or a combination of the two can be a matter of preference as well as dependent on what you are photographing, where you're photographing, and what your end goal or your end look that you're wanting to have is going to be. When I'm photographing in a client's home or the getting ready room of a wedding venue, I generally use one speed light or a small strobe light with a small shoot through umbrella. And if needed, I will add a speed light on camera as well, usually with my Magmod sphere on it, to bring a bit of extra light in. In my studio, I use my larger strobe light, which is the Paul Buff Einstein, with a very large 86-inch PLM, which is another term for shoot through umbrella. It stands for parabolic something something. I need to look that up. I know it's parabolic. It's basically a white shoot through umbrella. For family formals indoors at a wedding, I will use 2 speed lights or small strobes on stands with a small shoot through umbrella on either side of the grouping, kind of clamshelled on each side. And I will also, most of the time, have a speed light also on my camera to fill in that middle light also. During wedding receptions, I use 1 or 2 speed lights or small strobes on stands, always bare bulbed for photographing toasts, special events, and dancing. Usually there's also a speed light on my camera as well. I don't want to always move my my stands everywhere I go. So if I also have a speed light on my camera, I can confidently take a picture of Aunt May and Uncle Ben when they come up and ask me if I can take a picture of them. And that way, I also have that speed light usually has the built-in infrared focus assist, which helps in lower light situations. So lighting equipment that I'm familiar with. There are numerous choices for lighting equipment. And I am not an expert in all of them, but what I can tell you about is equipment that I have personally used and that I'm familiar with and that I like to use in different ways depending on what I'm photographing. The choices and the amount of options can be daunting. So throughout my career, I have tried many different types of artificial lighting. One thing I do recommend before purchasing new and expensive equipment is either borrowing that equipment from a friend or trying it out in your local camera shop or renting from borrowedlenses.com. They have not only have cameras and lenses, but they have a lot of lighting equipment as well as the triggers and other things that you would need to use. And just a little disclaimer, none of these companies are giving me any compensation for recommending their products. It's based solely on my personal experience. So, speed lights. Sorry, I keep moving the video around on my desktop so that I can make sure that I can read everything and also see you guys. So there are
We
many.
can't, just so you know, we can't see where you're moving your video.
Okay. All right. Well, I think
So-
in the replay there that it might
Oh,
be able
okay.
to be seen. So
Oh, okay.
I just kind of wanted to explain why because I've been moving you guys all over the desktop.
Oh, no.
So there are many trusted name brand speedlights such as Canon, Nikon, Godox, and Yongnuo. I never know if I'm going to say that correct. And that's just to name a few. And while I am a Canon, Fuji, Hasselblad user, I have friends who use Nikon and have advised me about their offering. One thing that a good friend who is really into off-camera flash said about the Nikon flashes is that they, at least in the past, have not had the capability of talking to each other. Some cameras have that infrared where you don't have to use triggers to trigger the lights. They can talk to each other, and Nikon in the past has not had that option. I don't know if they have that now or not. One note about that infrared option is that they have to have a clear, they can only be so far apart from each other if you're going to set up multiple flashes and try to have them just trigger from your camera and talking to each other instead of actually using a trigger like a pocket wizard. They have to be very close to each other, and they also have to have unobstructed views of each other's infrared sensor, which can also be interrupted by DJ lights. So I don't use those or depend on that, even though the flashes that I have do use that, or they have that capability, because I've not found it to be consistent, and I found it to fail me in times when I really needed it. It's just a little side note. So while speedlights can be a budget friendly way to incorporate off-camera flash into your work, the Canon and Nikon models are not budget friendly for most people. The offerings from Godox and Yongnuo are, that's how I say it, are much less expensive and are just as good in my opinion. Both Godox and Yongnuo have models that have a universal shoe mount that can be used on any brand of camera, including Contax, Pentax, Mamiya, Hasselblad, Fuji, etc. And just to give you kind of an idea of pricing from bnh.com, the Canon, the latest Canon Speedlight is about $500. The latest Nikon is in the $350 range. But then when you get to Godox and Yongnuo, you're talking $60 to $85. Hey, Cami, how are you? Good.
Yeah, I still forgot. I had a shoot this morning and I got home and caught up on my girls' school. But anyway, here I am,
That's
super
okay.
late, but here
So
we are.
glad to have you. So glad to have you. We are just talking about speed lights and strobe lights and the different options and when I use what, and kind of the cost and that kind of stuff associated
Awesome.
with them.
So excited.
So this is some examples of using speed lights only in use. These are all film images. This is actually a session where I forgot my meter and used my digital camera as my meter, and they turned out beautifully. So the first image is two speed lights, bare bulbed, bounced off of the windows right behind or right in front of my subject, so behind me. The second image of mom with baby is one speed light sitting on the changing table to the camera right. So I just had that little flash shoe on it and set it on the changing table. The next image of the family is two speed lights. One is bounced off the window to camera left, and the other is bounced off of the mirror behind me. And that's something I haven't talked about before either. If you don't have a window where you want to use it and you have a mirror in a client's bedroom, the mirror works just as well as window light to bounce light off. When I'm photographing in a client's home, I have often used 1 or 2 speed lights to make sure I have enough light to use film. In this case, the film was our beloved, rest in peace, Fuji 400H. I can quickly set up the lights, the flashes, I can quickly meter, and then I can move all around the space at different angles and still shoot and not have to worry about moving my flash here and there. So now we are going to talk a little bit about portable strobe lights. So there are the speed lights, there are more portable strobe lights, and then there are the big studio strobe lighting. These are the more portable version. Both the Godox, and they're both Godox. I also use both of these. Both the Godox AD100 Pro and the AD200 Pro are great options for portable strobe lighting. They are small, they're very quick, they have reliable color and light strength output. They're both cordless with extremely long-lasting batteries, even when you're using them at almost full speed. And they are pretty affordable and can be used in a wide variety of settings. I did not put the pricing in here. I believe the AD100 Pro, which is this one here at the top, it's actually about the size of a pop can and about the weight of a full can of pop. It is roughly about $300, I believe. So while it is not the cheapest option, I have found that sometimes it's better to spend the money on quality than to regret spending money on a lot of cheaper options that don't necessarily give you the results that you want also. So the AD100 has a decent modeling light, long-lasting rechargeable battery, and it can even be used just handheld, or it can be put on a light stand, or it can sit on a light or a flash shoe. So it's very, very versatile. The AD200 is a bit larger, and it comes with both a speed, so you can remove the heads on it. It comes with a speed light head, which would be like what you would see on a on-camera flash, or it comes with a strobe head, which is more like the bare light bulb looking head. You can also combine 2 AD200s together with an adapter to make one really powerful strobe light. The AD200 also has a modeling light, but I feel like it's kind of like the modeling light on a speed light. It's more like a flashlight and not even a very powerful flashlight, like one of those cheapo ones you would have got as a kid. I don't use the modeling light on that or depend on it. Both of these flashes also have high-speed sync capabilities. That's not something that I really use. It's when high-speed sync is when you're wanting to overpower the sun with your flash. That's not something that that's not a look that I go for, but I did want to note that they do have those capabilities. So here are those strobe lights, those portable strobe lights used on a real wedding day. So the first image is the AD200 with a shoot-through umbrella on a light stand. It was camera left. And the second, excuse me, is the AD100 bounced off of the ceiling. There were skylights in the ceiling, but kind of where the ceiling and the skylights met, there was a lot of white, and then it becomes just white wall in that room. It was bounced off of the white ceiling, or I should say white ceiling. It was bounced off of the white ceiling, not the actual skylight. The AD Pro again is the little pop can sized light. This last image of them dancing is behind them is the AD100 on the light stand, and I also had a speed light on my camera to bounce light back into their faces. For dancing images, I kind of like that burst of light in the background and backlighting them. So throughout a wedding day, I will use these various types of lights in different ways when time allows. When I first arrive at a venue, I set up my reception lighting, which is 2 Godox AD200s, and I use my, actually, this dancing one should have said it was the AD200, not the AD100. And I use my AD100, which is the pop can size one, for the getting ready portion of the day. With the AD100 being so small yet powerful, it is easy to take anywhere and use inconspicuously. That's one thing that I have heard some people say that holds them back from using flash is they feel like they're so much, and they feel like they're coming in and they want to be more fly on the wall. And I feel like that small flash really lets you kind of be a fly on the wall, whether you're at a wedding or in somebody's home. And I will also say that this sounds like a lot of equipment. Again, you don't have to use all of this. I'm just a little bit extra sometimes on wedding days with what I set up. So this is what I use in my studio. For most of my career, I have used studio lighting by Paul Seabuff. It's affordable, reliable, and it gives me beautiful results. I started off with the Alien Bees B400, which is this light right here with the bee on it. It's a more affordable offering from Paul Buff, starting at about $225. While the B400 is a powerful light, it can give off slightly inconsistent power and color output, which is most likely only noticeable to us, the photographer, but when you're editing, it can drive you a bit nutty. It tends to give off a little bit of magenta, but it'll go magenta, then it'll go green, then magenta, then green. It drove me insane. So I switched to their little bit more powerful model, which is the Einstein model. It's a higher wattage output, and it always produces consistent power and color output. Price tag's a little bit higher at $500, but in my opinion, it is worth every penny. The biggest downfall of these lights are that they have to be plugged in. So Godox, Westcott, and Profoto all offer battery-powered studio strobe lighting, but they are all about $600 and up. I believe they're actually for the higher, more powerful ones, they're in the $1,500 range, which to me, it would be great to not have the cord to sometimes worry about, but that price tag is a bit hefty for me. So in my studio, this is how I set things up, with this picture over here of my studio, my friend Heather here. So I have the Einstein with the 86-inch PLM or shoot through umbrella, and then I always have a reflector on the other side. I didn't need the reflector when I shot digital only, but once I started photographing with film, I brought that reflector in so that I could have even softer shadows, and it also helps me be able to get to f4 to shoot a lot more quickly with less power in my light than if I just let the light fall off into the rest of the dark room. And both of these images here are shot with that exact same setup. So you can see it creates a really super soft and natural looking light. Before we get into light modifiers, I want to just stop and ask if anybody has any questions about anything that we've talked about so far. You guys are good? All right, then I will continue to talk about light modifiers. There are so many choices there when it comes to light modifiers, and so it's really based on, again, the look that you want to achieve, and some people are really picky about the shape of their catch lights. Some people want a square or a rectangular catch light in their subject's eyes, which in their opinion looks more like window light, which tricks the brain, I guess, into maybe thinking that you have used natural light instead of, sorry, I was looking to see what the cat was doing. That you use natural light instead of studio lighting. For me, I always use either the small white shoot through umbrella or the large PLM from Paul Buff. And I always use the Magmod sphere, also called the boob, for bouncing light with my speed light. If I do have my light on my, if I do have my speed light on my camera as well, I am always either pointing it directly up or I am angling it back. Even if I've got my camera turned into portrait mode, I am still turning that so that it's pointing up or pointing back, never ever shooting my flash directly at my subject. Many photographers like to use soft boxes. Soft boxes would be these two options here on the right. For me, it comes down to ease of use. An umbrella is super easy and quick to open up and use. You simply open it up like an umbrella. Soft boxes or octaboxes, as these are sometimes called, can be a bit more involved to set up with various pieces to put together depending on what kind of way that you're attaching it to your light stand. So I prefer to just keep it simple and use an umbrella. I am all about the easy. The Magmod sphere uses an adapter that you put on your speed light to hold the sphere on. It's with a magnet, and the magnet is strong, like super strong. And the Magmod sphere just really helps to soften that powerful light that, and that harsh light that can come off of your speed light. So, triggering your light. I know I've talked briefly before about the different types of ways to fire your lights. And for most speed lights and strobe lights, you must have at least a trigger on the hot shoe of your camera in order to make your camera fire the light. To fire my speed lights and Einstein studio light, I use the Pocket Wizard Plus X, which is this option right here. With the Pocket Wizards, I can count on my flash to fire each and every time that I press the shutter. There are no settings to worry about. You just attach the Pocket Wizard to your camera's hot shoe and then another one to your light, and you're ready to shoot. If you want to change the power output of your light, you must adjust the settings on your light. It cannot be done on camera. For Godox lighting, you must use a Godox trigger transmitter in order to use your flash in manual mode. With this system, you can control up to 5 different light settings, if all of them at various strengths if you wish. So say you're shooting with a digital camera and a film camera, and for the digital camera, you don't need quite as much light output to get the look that you're wanting as you would need with your film camera. You can set the output on your digital camera with the Godox to be 1/64th power, while you can have 1/16th power on your film camera, and whichever one that you are pushing the shutter with for that exact same light, it will change the power output depending on which camera you're using, which is really kind of neat. You can also change the power output of your light and adjust all of your settings for your lights directly from the transmitter on your camera. So you don't have to stop what you're doing and walk over to your flash. You can do it all right there on your camera. The Yongino triggers are a very affordable option. However, I've had a set, they didn't last very long. They're not as reliable or as durable. The Pocket Wizards, and you must have 2 of them, will run you a 2-pack from B&H is $169. The Godox is $46, and you only need one of them, one per camera anyway. And the Yongano is about $41, and that's for the set. One would be on your light, one would be on your camera. Again, I know a lot of people that have purchased those when they're starting out, and they quickly move to the Pocket Wizards because they're just not getting the consistency or the reliability that they need. So I just want to also talk a little bit about continuous light. And I know Cami and I have had a conversation going on in the Facebook group about continuous light. And I wrote this, Cami, before you talked about the daylight balance studio lighting. But one thing that I want to say about continuous lighting, such as video lights or ice lights, that they all have their time and place. Most notably, so video lights and ice lights would be a portable constant light. The video light is, I'm sure that you guys have seen them. They're LED lights that you can adjust most of them you can adjust the color, the Kelvin color on them. And you put them on the hot shoe of your camera a lot of times, and that's how you can light your subject. There's also what's called an ice light, and to me it looks like a lightsaber. And it's kind of a long wand that you can also use handheld, or you can put it on a light stand also. They work for lighting things like flat lace, cakes, centerpieces, details in somebody's home. If you're shooting, photographing. If you're photographing someone who is going to sit still and not move around a lot, these options work great, but they will not freeze motion. So you're going to have to shoot, or you're going to have a higher ISO to shoot at least 1/60 of a second with these. And if we're shooting film, we know that that can be very hard to obtain sometimes, at least to get to 2.8 or even 4.0. So a flash will give you that burst of light, which will freeze motion at even 1/60th of a second without a tripod. And it's that burst of light that freezes the motion, and even with low shutter speeds, allowing us to let in more ambient light for more natural, brighter looking images. It also, and as I just said, it allows those of us that photograph with film to use film in more situations. In my opinion, money is better spent on a good speed light or two. Now, having said that, just a side note, or to continue the conversation about the daylight balanced studio lights, I do now remember hearing John talk about that he was using those, John Canlis. He is shooting mostly black and white though in the studio. Is that correct? Or is he shooting some color also? He's shooting color too. I also know he's not afraid to push it, and he's not necessarily interested in light and airy either. So
He's got those huge lights. I mean, sorry, not lights, huge windows on the side as well. So he's got a lot of light coming in, and then he just flips on those lights at the top for some, just a little bit of extra.
And I think that, I mean, honestly, if I could put those daylight balanced studio lights in my studio to have and use in conjunction with studio lighting with strobes and stuff, I would, just to have the two options, and or to maybe even have it look a little bit more home-like, lifestyle setting kind of. But that's not, I don't have experience with those, but that is something that I would be interested in knowing more about. And Cami, you said you were gonna you are putting those in your studio that you are.
Yeah, so I am, just because I find when it's okay, so I think this is the way John uses them. He just has them on basically to help Well, no, I wasn't gonna say it's not to help him focus. He actually has them on. But he's getting most of his light from window light. He has giant north facing windows.
Mhm.
I didn't see him using them with the strobe at all.
Yeah, I don't know, and I think Cami, you might have froze up, but I don't know that John and Emily, you might know. I don't believe he ever uses strobe or studio lighting, does he?
I know that he used to use the video or the continuous light, like video light a lot, but he has used flash. Like he did some like film school sessions using flash. So I know he has used it. I don't know. I think he loves that natural light and he's got a studio, and so he probably doesn't
I
have a
was
need for it right now, but he's not afraid to use it.
Cami, you froze up for a little bit too.
I'm having serious issues. But I was mostly putting it in so that I could have, like, it makes it easier to focus before your flash fires, if there's not a lot of light in there,
Right.
and then it's not gonna mess with anything. I do use a continuous Godox for my school portraits over a strobe, but that's because I'm mostly doing autistic kids.
Mhm.
And it's easier. I would rather use window light, but it's so nice to have the continuous, I mean, like, to never change my settings or my white balance because it's digital, obviously.
Right.
But they don't want to have that flash, the
Mhm.
kids. And
Yeah.
so it's nice for that. I just was asking what you thought because I see, like, this brand new studio that I shot in had them everywhere, and they just said these are daylight balanced. You can just turn on and shoot with that. And I was like, well, it's not directional. But then I turned them on and used them, and it was a lifesaver.
Right.
I'd rather not.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, like I said, I think they would be great to bring a little extra light in when you needed. But I think if you are using, if you know how to use flash in the
You don't
way
need it.
to achieve the natural light, then you wouldn't need it.
Right.
But it's great to have if you can have it too.
Right. Extra. I mean, I'm building the studio now. I might as well put them in.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't have very much natural light that comes into my studio. I have one small window that has an overhang. And so I I get a little bit, but not nearly enough to ever consider myself having a natural light studio. Um, Plus, I think no matter where you are in the country, you're going to have days where you're going to have gloomy days without enough light coming in from those natural windows, and I wouldn't want to
Rely.
depend only on natural light.
That's why I'm having a studio, because I'm so tired of caring about where the sun is. Like, I'm going to have big windows and I'll use them when they're being nice, but otherwise I want to know how to use the strobe. Like,
Yeah.
that's the point,
Yep. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about how to use your Speedlight in manual mode. I see a lot of people that use their Speedlights in TTL, which is the default setting on most Speedlights. TTL, which means through the lens, works a bit like shooting JPEG with your digital camera versus shooting RAW. Excuse me, I need to get when you're using TTL, your camera uses its built-in meter to decide how much light output to use with your flash. So it decides what power your flash is going to fire at. When you change your Speedlights mode to manual, you make the choice on what power output you want based on what your meter reading for film or what you see on the LED display on the back of your camera. So just like most of us don't want to shoot JPEG when we're photographing digital. We want RAW because we want to be able to choose. We're shooting RAW and we're shooting in manual mode because we want to be able to choose whatever the setting is going to be. We want to make that decision. We want the power on that, the control. I like control. And so if you're using your flash just in the TTL mode, you're kind of essentially, like I said, shooting JPEG with your flash. You're letting your camera decide that. And depending on what your lighting situation is, your ambient lighting situation, that your camera is either going to choose too little lighting to come out of there or possibly too much lighting to come out of there. And then you're going to have that really bright, flashy kind of look. Sorry, Amazon's here making a delivery. So most speed lights have a mode button on the back of them, which changes your mode to either TTL or manual, or which is usually noted with an M. Once you switch it to M, you can press the set button on your speed light to turn the power up or down. Pressing set again will lock in your selected power. If you're not sure how to change these things, you should consult your Speedlights owner manual to verify how to change those settings for your particular lighting. And if your Speedlight didn't come with the user manual, most manuals can be found with a quick Google search. Google is our friend. So that is pretty much the end of what today's presentation was. I want to thank you guys for being here. Our next call will be next Tuesday, April 20th at 1 o'clock Central Time. And during that time, we will be talking about stopping motion with flash using one light. And that goes for not only dancing, but for running kids, or just simply anybody that isn't going to sit stone still and allow you to shoot them at 1/30th of a second. I'm also going to talk about photographing details. And when I say details, not necessarily just like wedding details, but also sometimes when you're doing an in-home session, you want to take pictures of the different details in a nursery and things like that. Maybe a little flat lay of a baby onesie and a rattle and blanket, kind of things like that. So we're going to be talking about how to photograph and meter for that. And then I'm really, really hoping that this week you guys will be able to maybe submit on the Facebook page some of your images that you have taken with flash, whether it's flash and film, flash and digital, or hybrid. I would really like you guys to submit some of those so that we can kind of go over those, and any questions that you have, I will also be talking about those. And so any questions that you have posted in the past, I will probably also be bringing those back up just to make sure that they are all answered in one place. But if you have any additional questions that have come up, I would love, love, love to hear about them. If you don't want to publicly post them in the group, you are more than welcome to private message me and ask me there. And so you can remain anonymous if you want to. I will also have a feedback form posted for this week's call sometime tomorrow, if not later tonight. And I would appreciate any feedback there. Again, you can remain anonymous with that also. I thank you guys for the feedback that I've gotten so far. And I did I did post a separate feedback for last week, also last night in the Facebook group. And just a little reminder that April 30th, actually, and I put that in wrong, it should be the 27th. I was looking at the wrong calendar when I put that in. So it'll be April 27th will be our last call. And May 5th, this group will disappear. So if you could please review all the videos and information by then, and be sure to fill out the feedback for each week, which would be week 2 through 6. I did not put a feedback form for week 1, which was my first live call. I think we all know we learned from that, and so we moved on to week 2. But anybody who fills that out and that I know has been active and really looking at everything, I will be gifting you guys this course once for free once it is released. So as a thank you for all of your hard work and input. So I do want to open it up to see if you guys have any questions or comments or anything that you'd like to talk about from either what I've just discussed or what you'd like to see me discuss or what's been in the past, or, ask me anything.
Is this at the same time next week?
Yes, it'll be at 1:00 next week. And I will make sure that the correct date and time and Zoom link are all posted soon in the Facebook group.
I have a quick question about Speedlites, because I've done a lot of bouncing Speedlights off of windows and walls before. And in the videos, it looked like you were just doing a bare bulb, but you said in this one that you always use the little boob thing.
If
Is
I
that
don't
true?
if I don't have something else that I'm bouncing it off of, I use the boob.
Oh, okay. So that's only for if you're just putting it straight up and you just want it to kind of.
Yeah,
Spread
or
out.
if I have the Speedlight on my camera,
Yeah.
on camera, it's always got the boob on it.
Okay.
Sometimes just for ease and quickness of use, I will, instead of setting everything up with an umbrella is very quick. However, every once in a while, I forget the umbrella in the car, and I'm at a wedding and I've realized that it's too late to go in and get it. I will throw that Speedlight with the Magmod on it, and that way I can shoot details, wedding details and stuff like that. And I've got the diffused light instead of just having that, because a lot of times I'm in the middle of a ballroom and I don't have the window to bounce it off of, or the ceiling's too high to bounce it off of. So having that will give me softer light. It's not as soft as the umbrella, but it'll do in a pinch.
Right. But if you are bouncing, you don't worry about that. You worry about the diffuser. Okay.
No, and it really wouldn't. It
Wouldn't hurt.
It wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt. It does. I think that it is like a half a stop of light that it kind of takes away. So you might need a little bit stronger power if you're using it also, but it's not gonna hurt. There's no, I really, there's no like cut and dry, you have to do it this way. And I would never say you have to do it the way I taught you either. I think that a lot of it is figuring out what works best for you and the style and what you end up. But this is all hopefully a good jumping off point for you to figure out how to do it and how to make it work for your work.
Super helpful.
And let's see. So, Cami, I will say though, sorry, you're going to have to unmute yourself. So, since this is your first time getting to join us live,
Finally.
I just wanted you to kind of introduce yourself, and then I'll have Emily and Katie just quickly kind of introduce themselves to you also.
Okay. I'm Cami. I'm in Utah. I use the Find Lab for all of my film stuff. And I'm mostly a film photographer for clients and for my personal work. And I just use digital for my schools, which is where I make all of my money at this point. But like I said, I'm building a studio so that I can do more family or portrait work, I guess, without having to deal with weather and fight with the sun and locations and all of those things, because I'm getting too old to care about that stuff. So that's the kind of stuff that I do. I really love film, and I actually just really do love the look of a beautiful strobe studio work. So I'm just trying to get there.
You will.
We're getting there.
You absolutely will. I'm very glad to have you here too.
Thank you.
Katie, you want to introduce yourself quick? I think Cammy, were you in the Film Love workshop?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I was.
So that's how I met Katie too, because she was.
Yeah, I recognized your
Yeah.
name. I probably know your pictures.
Hi, and are you Blue Hill Images?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I'm
That's
sitting
me.
in a room with someone like your work is just so good. I love following you.
Thank you so much.
I'm so happy to meet you. I'm Katie. I live in Houston and I am a family slash newborn for family photographer. And I switched over professionally to film a couple years ago. And I've started using strobe and flash very, very, I mean, I still, I mean, even today I was like taking notes because just always learning, which is so great about photography. But anyway, Kristen's been a huge help for me with that. I'm always texting her questions and she's been amazing. So that's it. Oh, and I also want to mention too, I have 2 children with special needs. And so following you has also been wonderful for that too, because it's a little community feeling.
It is. We got to stick together, right?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Thank you, Katie. All right, Emily. You're muted.
Okay, hi. I'm Emily Card. I was Kristen's scanner at the Fine Lab. Not working there anymore. But now I'm just trying to focus more on what I want to do as a photographer instead of working for other people in a different way, like at the Fine Lab. And Cami, I love Lauren. She became a good friend of mine at the Fine Lab. She's the
I was
best.
just gonna wonder if you knew her. She's my
Oh,
niece. She works
yeah,
there for everyone.
yeah.
Yeah, and then Lauren took over my scanning when Emily left. So
And
Yeah.
then she stopped scanning and now she's back there, but she's not a scanner.
I know she's editing now, but
Yeah. Anyway.
she's so great. She became one of my good friends there at the lab. But anyway, yeah, I'm in Orem, Utah, and just I don't know what I'm saying. Film is the best. Want to be 100% film, but doing both right now. And Cami, you were saying something about you're getting older, so you just can't put up with, depending on the light. I don't think it has to do with age. I think it's understanding that you can control light and it can be beautiful. And so I think it's understanding. Because I don't feel like I'm that old, but I'm all about beautiful studio portraits, and I don't know, they can be really stunning. So that's
I guess
something
what
I'm
I'm
trying to nail down as well.
I'm too old for having 2 hours of conversations about whether we're going to Tibble Fork
Yeah,
or we're going to, I just, and then like looking at the weather and then I don't know, like that's the thing that I feel like I don't have energy for, yeah, for that anymore. I just want to, it's also a different kind of work. I don't want to do the stuff where the places around here that are so beautiful are reduced to backdrops and the pictures aren't about the people. And so I'm just like, I want to focus in on the person, and my kind of artistic vision for them, and not here's a mountain and you're in front of it too. You know what I mean? And so it isn't just me being too old, but it's also like, how about I want to walk 3 feet into my garage and do it? You know what I mean? I feel like I'm gonna give up on clients unless I do this. You know what I mean? Because I just can't keep being at the mercy of the sun and the weather, and yeah, and where my clients want to go and when, and yeah, all of that stuff. I'm just done with it all.
That's what makes you more of a professional, is when you can understand how to use and create that light, because I think it's more amateur to just shoot natural light, in my opinion.
Yeah, you should
so
be
you
able
can
to
always
use
shoot
all
when
of
you
it.
need to. Yeah.
So is your studio gonna be in your home or in your garage?
Yeah, so I have like the 3rd car garage that I never have used as a garage. It was my gymnastics studio. I've been teaching like preschool gymnastics for years. And I was done with that when I just, was doing more photography. And then I was just like, well, here's a perfect space that I
That
can
is
just,
great.
Yeah.
but I have to, right now it's on hold just because we're waiting for 10 weeks for the door, like big old glass doors that are going to be north facing kind of a thing. But so it's kind of a long, skinny space, but it's not being
Oh no.
Oh, Cammy, you froze up again.
used for anything. So it's not my actual garage.
Ah,
I'm glad it's not
Oh,
just
she
me
put it.
that has issues sometimes.
oh, she can hear us, she says.
Oh, okay. Well, I couldn't see okay. Well,
I love that. I would love to have a studio like that one day.
Yeah. I would love to have something attached to my garage that I owned and didn't have to pay rent for. My studio is only about a block and a half from my house, but it's not my place, and
Right.
I would love to have that, but where we live now, I just don't see it happening unless I completely take over the garage, which is not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, well, hey, Cammy, I am sorry that you froze up and that you're unable. I'm glad you can at least hear us. We are going to go ahead and end this for the day. I have a headshot session here in the next 20 minutes, so I've got to go over for that. If you guys do have anything, though, that you think of that you do want to hear in the future, or questions that come up as you're going about your week, or that you're experimenting with things, please, please, please ask me. I'd love to think that I'm just being so thorough that you don't have any questions, but I don't think that's the case. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask me when you think of them, and I will look forward to answering them. So I'm going to let you guys go. And again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kristen. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Have a wonderful
Hey
week.
guys.
If you see me.
I can see you now.
Yay! I have the